The Department of Special Collections is the part of UCLA's library responsible for rare books, manuscript collections, historic photographs, and other rare and special objects. Our department has one of the largest collections in the state of California of manuscript materials and other things too, but particularly of manuscript collections. We have more than 1,700 collections, but that might not sound like such a huge number until you understand that, in fact, some of these collections are scores or even thousands of boxes. We store these collections in a big facility on the campus. We have 2 floors in this building. Each of the floors is the size of a football field. And no university library really has the resources to keep up with this valuable material. So, faced with this problem and the great backlog that we were developing of fantastic holdings, it occurred to me that a solution might be to involve graduate students who are already at a fairly advanced level of their studies, who have maybe language expertise in addition to subject expertise, and pair them up with some of these collections so that we would be able to draw on their knowledge. We would share our knowledge of how to approach the cataloging and description. They would have first crack at this material that no one else has seen and thereby find an original topic for their dissertations or theses or an article. And in this way, everyone wins.
You open up a box of stuff that's totally unwieldy, that's never been processed before, and there's no telling what's going to be in there. What first attracted me to the center was the idea that I could merge my film background with new skills I was developing in library school. And so what started out as kind of an interest in archival film, restoring film, preserving film, moved into manuscripts and photographs and different sorts of media. Not only do I have a comfort around archives, which I think a lot of graduate students don't. Graduate students go into research in archives and you're scared if you've never been in one before and you don't know how things work. So this is like my home. This is a very comfortable situation for me. It's not terrifying at all. And I made friendships and professional relationships that have helped me out to this day.
We have a trained archivist librarian, currently Kelly Bockley, who oversees the center.
What I would suggest is putting Mylar around this, and that way when people in the reading room handle this, they won't get the red rot all over their hands. So that would be great protection for the book.
She works with each student, helps them understand what goes into doing professional level archival description, and brings every project to fruition. This is what makes it a very robust model.
So this letter I came across and I basically just had no idea what it was because it's indecipherable. And so I went to Kelly and asked her, what is this? And she said, well, it's an example of cross-writing. It's a saved paper. It's actually written across and then written this way. It took a little bit of effort to read, but it was really interesting. I'm working on the 18th century printing, publishing industry, and so a whole part of this collection is letters from booksellers. So I can figure out exactly where they were located in London at the time, see the types of things they were writing to their clients, what their clients were writing to them, authors or people who are doing binding. So I really feel like I have more of a grasp on this world that I'm writing about in my dissertation.
Projects are selected based on 2 major criteria. One is the student's knowledge and expertise that they would be bringing to the project, and the other is the demand or research value of the collection. Many collections have been sitting for decades untouched. Recently, we were able to process a collection of Tanzanian newspapers that was donated by a political science faculty member.
This would have been a donation that I made sometime in the mid to late 1960s. 40 years later, I was contacted by the center and told that the Zanzibar collection was back on again.
A Tanzanian graduate student applied to work in the center specifically to process that collection.
Janet Kaaya made it her project. And the fact that it's so well done, so well cataloged, and so accessible adds to the thrill of this having happened after that 40-year period.
When we were envisioning the center, we felt that it would be important to compensate the students well at a rate equivalent to, say, a TA-ship or a research assistantship, recognizing their special skills.
We've had one student, Carolyn Luce, who has been working on the Western States Jewish Archive, an immense collection of unprocessed, uncatalogued materials. In one of those folders, in one of those 186 boxes, she found material about the history of the bagel that actually has blossomed into what I think will be a really wonderful dissertation.
This is really delicate and really big.
And even those students who don't find their topic while working at the center benefit immensely because they know how to work in an archive. They're knowing how to use finding aids because they've developed their own finding aids for other collections. All of these skills pay off, and pay off considerably in terms of reducing the time to degree.
One of the things that I always tried to keep in mind is what are the needs of researchers, especially somebody who's going to be looking at this finding aid online and who's trying to figure out whether they want to make a trip all the way out to California. I try to be as descriptive as possible, but also be efficient with time. One of my future goals is to become a university-level professor. And in processing these collections, I started to consider possible assignments for students, trying to get them familiar with university archives, delving into manuscripts, documents, ephemera, things that they wouldn't get out of published books necessarily, give them a sense of how history is really alive.
We constantly have new collections coming in, and we keep many of them down here. Here's a collection that we literally just received yesterday in this very box, all beat up. And it's a collection of artifacts from Kenya, from Barack Obama's supporters in Kenya. Kenya says, yes, we can. This is a collection of glass plates from a landscape architect named Huntsman Trout. And here's a photograph of a design he did for a very elaborate garden. But this is why we have hidden collections, because we just have so many coming in all the time.
With over 1,000 unprocessed collections, and many of them being quite large, we've decided to try a new approach with the Roger Menevie collection. This collection has over 2,100 boxes. French and Francophone Studies student Matthew Callahan has started to describe this collection. Normally when we describe a collection, we're describing each folder. But with this collection, to actually get through more material, we're describing each box.
I've been working for about 3.5 months on the collection. I've processed about 1,100 boxes, and I've got about 1,000 ahead of me, so I figure I'm about halfway done. This is box 1,326, and we have quite a few really interesting things regarding anti-Semitism and the Holocaust. Probably what excites me the most about this box is finding these items that we'll never really see again if we don't document them and keep them for posterity.
One of the surprising and wonderful outcomes of the center that we've seen over and over again is that as soon as these collections get processed and they're available online, we have people at our door dying to use them.